Please remember to turn on your microphones when you're ready to speak.
Oh, without further ado, I'll call the meeting to order since it's 4:00. Meeting of the Commission. Monterey Museums is in session.
Thank you. And can we start by calling roll call? We have Chair Sovereign,
Yes, here.
Vice Chair Kimsey,
Present.
Commissioner Champion.
No longer.
Oh, good to know. Evans,
Yeah.
Commissioner Evans,
Here.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Here.
Commissioner Thomas,
This house.
and thank you, and Commissioner Wachkowski. All right, thank you. We do still have a quorum of 4 with 2 commissioners absent. And I can take this time to remind the public about how they can participate in this public meeting. You can participate in person at City Hall or remotely by Zoom or telephone. The information to join can be found on the meeting agenda at isearchmonterey.org. Remote commenters are muted until it is their turn to speak. A timer will be shown on screen. And if you are connecting on Zoom, there is no time delay. Please remember to turn off your sound devices when you call in, so there's no sound feedback. Thank you for participating. Back to you, Chair.
Yes. I'll ask for consent that the consent agenda be approved. Is there a motion?
Chair, we're going to go into the presentations first.
First,
Yep.
excuse me. I skipped present.
I'll introduce our City of Monterey Museums, Brianna Schwerling, and she'll be presenting on our City of Monterey art collection. So turn it over.
Good afternoon, Museum
Yeah.
Commission. My name is Brianna. I'm the artifact specialist for City of Monterey Museums. And today I'm going to talk with you about the city's art collection.
Is your microphone on?
Can you hear me now?
No,
Turn it on at the bottom.
little light.
There should be a little green light.
Is on. Is that better? Try that. Try that. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
No.
Not true.
Test. Is that's better?
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you for trying.
Testing.
Much better.
Okay, let's try this again. So I'm Brianna. I'm the artifact specialist for the City of Monterey Museums. And today I'm going to talk with you about the city's art collection and the art inventory that I have been working on. So the topics that I'll cover today in the presentation are a bit of background on the types of works that make up the larger art collection, projects that I've been working on around the art collection, and the needs of the collection. So there are over 400 artworks in the collection. 149 of the artworks are on display. And so that includes the museum sites as well as city offices and the artwork that you see here in council chambers. 307 artworks are in storage and 4 artworks are currently on loan to other institutions. One of the artworks that's on loan is the Casa Munras mural endo mosaic. It is currently on display at the Stanton Center, and it will be on loan to the Monterey History and Art Association until 2034. This artwork, the Casa Munras commissioned Emil Norman to create this endomosaic for their dining room in 1956. Or excuse me, in 1954. And then the case that sits in, it was custom designed for this display, and it was inspired by Emil Norman's home in Big Sur. Another project a project I've been working on related to the art collection is making sure that we have updated loan agreements. And so I've been communicating with collections managers at other sites that have the works on loan to make sure that we have updated records, as well as the borrowing institutions have updated records on their end as well. One of the collections in the larger art collection is the DeHaven collection. The DeHaven collection had a long way of making its way to the city of Monterey. In 1941, in December of 1941, Augusta Louise DeHaven passed away, and she bequeathed her collection to the city of Monterey. But then her artwork was stuck in a legal battle for almost 2 decades. Her children were living in Germany at the time, and that was the start of the U.S.'s involvement in World War II. And so the U.S. government froze her property, and the artwork sat in storage for almost 2 decades. And the trust went bankrupt, so her artwork went up for auction. And an art dealer in Carmel by the name of Harold Smithson purchased the artworks. And then Margaret Jacks, the daughter of David Jacks, purchased the work from Smithson, and she gifted the works to the city. And that was how they ultimately ended up as part of the
You
collection.
gave it back to the city? Is that,
Yes,
the chair is somewhat hard of hearing, so.
that's okay. And I forgot to mention at the start of the presentation, please feel free to ask questions at any point during the presentation. A few of the artists that make up the collection are Armin Hansen, William Ritchell, Euphemia Charlton Fortune, and Paul Whitman. We also have works by the Peters family. And as I started working on the inventory, this was a collection, or these were artworks that I found interesting, that there were several members that were all interested in art and inspired by the Monterey area and the landscapes. And you can see that in the work that they created. So the painting that is pictured on the left is by Constance Peters. She was the second wife of Charles Rollo II. And that painting is currently on display at the city attorney's office. The painting pictured in the center is on display in the planning office, and that was created by Charles Rollo II. And the painting on the right is a watercolor done by their son, DeWitt Peters, and that painting is currently in storage. Another feature of the art collection are the Monterey Angels. In 1956, the city had a volunteer holiday decorating committee, and the committee commissioned the artist Erica Frank, also known as Erica Barton Haba, to create the angels. And so with the picture on the left, the angel that's displayed on the left is from the series, the 1956 series. The angel in the center is from 1973, and then the angel on the right is from 1999. And so we have 100 Monterey Angels in the collection. Another piece of the art collection is the public art that you see around the city. There are statues and sculptures and paintings. This also includes the art that's on display at the Monterey Conference Center, in the Sports Center, in Colton Hall, as well as the Monterey Public Library. In this art, there is a a walking tour app on the City Museum's website, and it has all of this art on it, and you can pinpoint on the map where these pieces are located and learn a little bit about each piece and the artist that created them. As I mentioned, there's also art that is on display at the library. The painting on the left, that is in the community room, and the painting on the right is displayed over above the doorway of the entrance of the library. There are 31 artworks on display at the library, and some of the pieces were gifted directly to the library, and then others were gifted to the city to then be put on display in the library. Now I'm going to go over some projects that I've been working on related to the art collection. So the main project that I have been working on is an art inventory. We want to make sure that we have records and are keeping track of all of the work that is in the art collection. And so what is involved with this inventory is making sure our digital records have up-to-date information. So this includes the catalog number or object ID number of the artwork, the title of the work, the artist's name, a description of the piece, dimensions, the location, and making sure there's an updated photograph. And so with this inventory, I went to the different city offices and tracked down where the artwork was located because pieces had been moved over time, and then the location hadn't been updated in the record. And so that was an important piece for going through this process. Part of the inventory, I also attached archival tags to the paintings. A lot of the paintings didn't have information notating that they were part of the collection. So I was able to track down the object IDs and then put these archival tags on there so people that come along in the future can see that that these works are part of the collection. Another component is a condition report. So tracking the conditions of the works and if there's any damage, taking photographs and detailed notes to include in the record of what the condition is.
In your work so far, roughly, what fraction of the 400 or something pieces actually have an archival tag and are in reasonably good condition?
I would say probably 95% of the collection has archival tags. That isn't really a process that we can follow with the sculptures that are around town. But in another slide, I'm going to talk about interpretive signage. And so I'll get back to that, that point with that.
Good.
And then another component is rehousing. So when I started the inventory, Brian assisted me with it, and we went to a city office that was no longer in use, but there were over 20 works on display in that office that were part of the art collection. And so we inventoried those, took them off display, and then put them back in our collection storage.
Thank you.
So this is the current state of our primary collections storage site. One minute. And so with the photo on the left, that is the side where all of the artwork is stored. And then the photos in the center and on the right are the rest of the collection. So this includes the artifacts, the archival materials, as well as the photo collections. And this is a concern because their overall museum's collections have outgrown the storage space. And so in looking at this, in March of 2025, I met with a consultant from the Northeast Document Conservation Center, they have a program that's funded through the California State Library, and it's called Ready or Not, and it's an emergency preparedness program related to collections. And it was a free consultation, and the consultant came out and toured our collection storage sites and gave recommendations on what can be done to help protect the collections and get them up off the floor. Because some of the concerns I have with the artwork is the shelving unit that's behind the cart sits on the floor. There's no space above the floor. So if there was a flood, there isn't that recommended space between the collections. This is another one of our storage sites. It's where the Monterey Angels are housed, as well as some other artworks and some artifacts. It is a shared space with other city departments, and so it's a pretty small portion of the site where collections are stored. The Angels need a better housing system because, as you can see from the photograph, they're leaning up against one another and they're already in a pretty fragile state, especially the series from 1956. There's paint that's peeling and have just been weathered over time from being on display every winter season. Oh, and then the other component I forgot to mention as far as storage, in June of this year, I applied for a groundwork grant, and that is tied to the protection of cultural heritage and preserving collections and artifacts. For the city offices to request artwork from the collection, I created a Microsoft form that lives on the city staff webpage. So they can fill out this form requesting if they want to have artwork added to their office space or if they want artwork removed. And this also helps with tracking the location of pieces. And so the information that I've added to the form for them to fill out is their contact information, where their office is located, and for an estimate of the space of where they're considering having artwork displayed. Because there are paintings and photographs of so many different sizes in our collection, that just gives us a sense of what to recommend if they have a general idea of what they would like to have on display. Now I'm going to go into future needs of the art collection. Can anyone tell me where these three pieces are on display?
Say that a little louder.
If anyone can tell me where these three pieces are on display in the city.
Nope.
Okay, so the sculpture on the left is on Bruce Arris Way. It's titled Moonwalker, and it was part of the initial art that was acquired when the conference center opened, and that was where it was initially displayed. The sculpture in the center is on display at Sister City Park, and it was a gift from the city of Nanao. The photo below it is to show the interpretive plaque that is at the base of the sculpture, and it is pretty worn down and you can't really read the text that is there any longer. And the painting that is on the left is on display at the library. And just to the left of the painting frame, there's a little card, and that's supposed to be the wall text noting what the painting is and who the artist is. But it's just the foam core board. There's no text on it. So part of the needs of the collection is making sure we have interpretive signage for all of our works, all of the works that are public facing, as well as the works in city offices. Something we've experienced so far is as people come and go in their jobs in the city, new employees don't always know that we have artwork that's part of the collection. And so it's important to have that noted so they don't think that the person that was in the role before them left artwork behind. Another need is to review artworks for deaccession. The work on the left is a tapestry that is on display at the conference center, and that was one of the initial pieces purchased as the part of the larger group of works to be on display at the conference center. A piece of that size, and because it's a tapestry piece, there's quite a bit of maintenance required to look after the piece. And if we were to take that artwork down and display something else in its place, we don't have the storage space to store a tapestry of that size. The Path of History map in the next photo is made up of 8 wooden panels. Those are currently stored at the second facility that I showed you a photograph of. They were initially on display at the Portola Hotel, but they no longer wanted them on display, and they're not in good condition. The paint is peeling, and they're just sitting in storage. And so that would be an example of another piece to consider for deaccession because it's not going to go on display again. So recently we migrated to a collections management system called Catalogit. One of the reasons we wanted to move to this program is because it has a public-facing website known as the Catalogit Hub, where the public, we can list our collections on this site and the public can view them. With our past program, Past Perfect, there wasn't a way for the public to view collections. The public could only see the collections that we had on display at our museum sites. And so this would be a great addition to making collections more accessible to the public. And I wanted to show you an example of another museum site that has that uses Catalogit.
Is there room, it's hard to read these, is there room for interpretive comment on this tool?
On the, for this photo here for the collections,
Yeah.
this was just a screenshot that I took of other museum sites, but I'm going to open up a web page to show you what the Catalogit Hub looks like for another museum site to use it. So this is the Cameron Stanford House in Oakland. And from here you can see they have 450 items in their collection on display. They have it organized by different categories. So there's a section called Explore the Collection, which just shows the larger collection that they've included on the hub. And then they have it broken down by the different rooms in the house. There's a variety of ways that this can be organized. So I'll go here to the period room, the family parlor, and it shows everything that's in that room that they've decided to share. And you can click on the individual items and it'll show information about that item. So it's a compass, the object ID associated with the object, and then the interpretive label that they created for the piece. And so there's the way of displaying it. Let's see, one second. In this way, as well as digital exhibits can be added to the hub. And that's if someone wants to create an exhibition around a certain theme. Another future need for the collection is funding for conservation. This past winter, Library Museums Director Brian Edwards had a few replicas created of the Monterey Angels. As I mentioned previously, the condition of the angels, there's paint that's peeling and chipping, there's cracks in parts of the wood. And so the angels that Brian had created were to be displayed on the major roadways in Monterey where there was more exposure to the weather and would help keep the originals safe. Another example for that would be needed for conservation, this painting is on display at the Presidio Museum, and with the photo on the right, you can see that there's cracks in the paint, and that extends to the entirety of the painting. So this is something where we would want to have a replica created and have that on display and then put the original in storage. A future project that Library Museums Director Brian Edwards has been is in the process of working on next steps for is creating a public art policy. This will look at the display of public art in city buildings and outdoor spaces. And this will give a process for residents and businesses to be able to apply if they want to have public art or murals added to certain sites. And Brian, I don't know if there's anything that you would like to share about that.
Yeah, just that I know this has come in from requests from council and the mayor regarding some discussions on murals and art. And one of the important distinctions I'd like to make is that for the majority of commissions that I've looked into, museums and cultural arts commissions tend to work on projects that are either funded or owned by the city. And so the artwork would be reviewed on there. And there's a project for a public art policy would have to include a process for if you're in a private venue, how do you apply for that? Because currently, if you are looking to do a mural in Monterey, city of Monterey, you do a sign permit through the planning department. So that's where they have a certain sign, and there have to be specific guidelines for how you do public art and what that includes. Also, because with us being a historic city here in California, I find that we have to look along the lines of other historic cities and how they've done public art policies within historic neighborhoods, because we have a National Historic Landmark District, as well as different neighborhood districts throughout City of Monterey with different guidelines. So any kind of art policy that incorporates private should incorporate that kind of level of planning. So that's why I've just been doing kind of research on there, but it's not going to be as simple as, in my mind, as like apply for a mural and you're good to go, because there's different levels of how we can get it approved.
And the last need that I have listed is an art appraisal. The last time that the city had the artwork appraised was in 2007, and we have acquired artworks since then that are not included in that. So it would be important to have an updated appraisal in order to determine what the insurance coverage should be for all of the artworks in the collection. And lastly, these are the links for the museums division. We have the museum's website, the public art walking tour, which can be accessed through the city website, iOS, Android. And then the phone number is linked to the audio tour and the museum's Instagram.
Is that new?
The public walking tour?
Yes.
It has been around for a couple of years now. I believe it's something that Brian has been working on.
Yeah, it's basically something with that I had expanded out from the Path of History tour in the app, and I just added content for public art and went through. I took a intern, I think last summer or the summer before, and him and I worked on taking photos and getting descriptions of all the different public art around there and geotagging it, putting it on the site.
I haven't seen it myself.
Yeah. Well, the app is there, but then the signage, and I'll talk about that later. The signs are reflecting on some of these things around town.
Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions?
No, very complete.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I can take this time to remind the public that if they would like to provide a public comment, they can do so in person at City Hall or remotely by Zoom or by telephone with the information found on the meeting agenda at isearchmonterey.org.
I guess now I can call for the the consent agenda. Sorry. The consent is fairly short. It's just the question of accepting the minutes of the April, I believe it was, yes, April meeting.
And there were some errors in that,
And
you probably noticed the chairman
I made the
went
chair,
back and forth and back and forth,
Yeah,
so
I
that
need to-
needs to be corrected.
I need to update the chair on that, the chair sovereign at the top, because it goes into the general public comments and that,
Says-
but it,
It said Chair Thomas, Chair Sovereign,
yeah,
whatever.
so that one,
he
I
was
used the
correct.
old 2024 format, and that's why on that one.
Other than that, are there any changes?
Is it-
No other changes.
Any other observation of errors or need of changes of the minutes of the last meeting?
I'll move approval.
Second. Call for a
Thank you. And who was the second? Was it? Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm learning everyone's name. Okay, so we have Commissioner Evans, Chair Evans. Wait, sorry. I'm sorry. You can tell you can tell I'm filling in, right? Commissioner Evans was our first, and then Commissioner O'Neill was the second, and we have Chair Sovereign
yes, I vote yes.
and Vice Chair Kimsey.
Yes,
Okay, and then Commissioners Thomas and Wachkowski are absent. This motion carries and the minutes are approved with corrections.
Thank you. Calling now for public comments. I guess there are no public members, but online, no.
Yeah, just a reminder, viewers at home can join the meeting by Zoom or watch live on YouTube. The meeting information to join and provide public comment, if you like, is found on isearchmonterey.org. And there are no public comments at the moment.
Okay. Third item is to confirm annual appointments for chair and vice chair for the coming fiscal year. And
Brian is going to do that.
Yeah, all right, I'll jump in. And I'll first off note that I had copied over the chart, so to make some errors on this chart. First off, that the chair is Chair Sovereign, vice chair of the current is vice chair is Rini Kimsey. But then also the term date. So just the update on the term date. Tim Thomas, term date showing a June 30th, 2025. And Commissioner Thomas could not make the meeting today, but he also notified myself and the city clerk that he would be moving outside of the city and unable to extend his appointment. So he did not apply for reappointment. And so Commissioner Thomas is stepping down. Chair Sovereign's term date is June 30th, 2025. And at the Tuesday night city council meeting, there was a topic on governance, and that will go over how that topic was discussed about how the mayor and vice mayor will go forward with doing interviews for people that are interested in commission roles. So at this time, Commissioner Sovereign is still serving on this commission, but will need to be reappointed for a future meeting.
Yes, to reapply.
He has to reapply. Yeah. And Commissioner Evans should say June 30th, 2028. Vice Chair Rini Kimsey, her term date is correct at June 30th, 2027. And Commissioner O'Neill was reappointed last year, so that went to June 30th, 2028. And Commissioner Wachowski, he is not present tonight, but his term date does end as well as June 30th, 2025, so he would need to reapply for the commission. So that being said, there are 3 people currently on here for the future that are currently going to be commissioners as of the meeting going forward. So that would be Commissioners Evans, Commissioners Kimsey, and Commissioner O'Neill. Based on the guidelines, also the guidelines are attached about who has served without serving as the chair the longest. The chair coming in would be Commissioner Kimsey because you've not served as chair, and Commissioner Evans and Commissioner O'Neill have served as chair in the past. So with that, you would be, even as one of the newest commissioners here, you would be the chair if you accepted it. And then the vice chair would be Commissioner O'Neill because you were last served as chair in 2020 and 2021, while Commissioner Evans was 2022, 2023. So with that, the recommendation is that the chair would be Commissioner Kimsey and vice chair would be Commissioner O'Neill. But we would like to make sure that you're interested in taking those roles and would accept that.
We're ready.
Great.
Okay. So I think does the commission confirm and approve?
We need a motion.
I think we need a,
Yeah, we can do a roll call. Just a reminder, Commissioners Thomas and Wachowski are out. And then we have Commissioner Evans, your vote,
Affirmative.
Vice Chair Kimsey,
Affirmative.
Commissioner O'Neill,
Affirm.
Chair Sovereign.
Approve.
All right, thank you. That was unanimous. And the chairs will be rotated beginning at the next meeting.
all right. Thank you.
Michael.
All right. So but I can dive into this next one, which is the Colton Hall music series. We've been working on a lot of projects, so I haven't done a full call on this, but the last meeting, as you may recall, we've recommended that we do a series of music concerts in this fall. And with that, with kind of the limited number of commissioners that we have, limited number of staff we have, my recommendation on the report was basically to work directly with the chair or directly with the chair and vice chair and select music for those 4 concerts. Confirm the dates, confirm the amount. On this one, I put a not to exceed total of $3,000. I'm not entirely sure how much each concert would cost, but based on last ones where we spent between $500 and $1,000 per performer, I felt $750 would be sufficient around that. And so with those budgets and with that budget and in my request to work with future Chair Kimsey or with Chair and Vice Chair, depending on how the commission would like to see. We would book the concerts, go forward, host the first concert, and then work on the letter for the donation moving forward with that. And part of that is I've connected with a group that books different musicians and concerts around the area, and they work also with our recreation department, and they work with different concerts like at Colton Hall Lawn and everything. So I've worked with them to just connect on getting a cost. I haven't gotten a cost estimate yet, but they have some folks that might be available on specific dates. So that would be my request going for this year, that we work on that to get this going.
I think there are some options that could produce good music, but at a somewhat lower cost if we had some staff time or a group of commissioners to review the music submitted by those who answer a call to the public for submissions. We have done that in the past, and I think it's brought in good music for considerably less than $750. But it takes some staff time to back it up, or a very active group of commissioners participating.
So as a reminder, we have 3 commissioners moving forward out of 7 on the actual commission. We do not have the position that used to do all of the work to actually call that to order and put together a call and do the packets and do the mailings and review all of that work. That position is not in the city anymore, and I'm not doing that work. I'm just flat out, I'm not going to do that work of doing a call and a website, because how are we doing it out and mailing it out? Are we doing a call? Am I paying the weekly for an ad? There's a lot of work in terms of doing a call to art when there is a group of people that hire the different musicians throughout the peninsula that have a website, that have all of that musicians' content on a list. They have their YouTube page or they have their Spotify page. It has all of their content of all their music that they list. So if you work directly with the commission, like 1 or 2 commissioners, rather than having a subcommittee and us doing all of the work of putting together a packet to mail out, receiving packets, going through everybody's packet and everybody's CDs. That's how it used to be. It used to be we would send it out
Exactly.
and people would send in a CD, and people are not producing CDs. Laptops do not even have CDs anymore. So you would have to either create a Google Drive or something, which I don't have access to, pay for that and say, hey, we need a drive for somebody to upload their documents, upload their link. That all takes staff time, money, all of these things. I'm using the $750 based on the contracts that we were signed in 2020. That was what the museums department was signing in 2020 for concerts. So it was between $500 and $1,000. One concert, I think, was about $1,300 or $1,500, but that person was higher cost, and that was a single person. But I felt if we can get that, there are other options we've done before are working with youth orchestras and chamber orchestras. I've reached out to Monterey Symphony. I've reached out to the different groups out there in Carmel to see, would they be willing to share any of their musicians or willing to have like a quartet or something like that. But it takes a lot of time on my part to call people up, to email people, to meet with them and schedule. But if I know a group that says, hey, I can book somebody, it's going to be a lot easier. And we can put that in the hands of choosing it rather than bringing it back. We won't know if we bring it back to a subcommittee. I don't even know when the next time we have a meeting is, because we won't have a quorum until new commissioners are reappointed. So if we want to get this done September or October or November, I say we just put it in the hands of working with me and or Melissa and our commissioners, 1 or 2 directly, and just go forward. So that'd be my recommendation going forward on that.
Well, I'm happy to work on that. In fact, I would love to work on that. So I have the time and I will do whatever we need to do. I would wonder if they have openings? I mean, if there are people who are interested that they don't necessarily have on their list, can they apply to them? Or is there some method to make it open to any of the local musicians who are interested?
Into doing concerts at Colton Hall. I think that might be something to look at for next year, but I think if we want to get things done this fall and we're already in August, we need to move forward with just booking it. In my mind, like we need to book it and get the dates booked so that we know we have them on there. If we want to do something next year, then we have to figure out how are we doing that call to action? How are we doing that call? Because right now, going back to it, is that it goes back to how are we doing the promotion to people? Because if we put out something on like the Arts Council website or something like that, are they going to charge us for doing an advertisement? You know, or if we do something on another website or ad, who's going to charge us for that advertisement to do that work as well? So we just have to figure out, because we could do it in like maybe the library newsletter or something, a call to artists interested. You could do that, but
Well, do you have the list of who they have on their list, or could you
Yeah.
share that with me so we can work on that?
yeah,
Okay.
there's actually a list of
All right.
different types of music, different
Okay.
performers. And that's what I mean. You and I would be able to sit
Great.
down and just move forward and say, this is kind of the groups we want. This is what we want for these 4 concerts for this fall. So we'd have the fall series booked, and then moving forward, seeing how the funds come in, because then if we can go in the new calendar year, whether it goes back to spring or summer, or is it spring, summer, or fall? And then when we get more the reappointments, and they're bringing it back to the commission at the next time we have a commission meeting, when we have more commissioners here to discuss how it went
All right.
and move forward.
And did we finalize the time? Because we had discussed that before, and I had suggested that afternoon is a lot better for a lot of people. They don't want to drive at night, you know. A Sunday afternoon or something like that would be an ideal time, in my view, having worked with a lot of groups around here. And the people that generally had attended, because I attended past ones, were not usually very young people. They were an older group that were
Mhm.
interested in that, and I think it's better if it's an afternoon time frame.
Yes, I put on this either 2 p.m. or 4 p.m.
Perfect.
And that's where I thought, because also if we around that time, we currently have, if it's at Colton Hall, if it was at Colton Hall at 2 p.m., we use the staff that are already there. Saturdays and Sundays, we already have staff that are serving there at 2 p.m. If it's at 4 p.m., then one of us has to stay longer, but we can adjust and figure that out,
Yeah.
whether that's us or somebody from the library that's there to help staff that day. But Saturday or Sunday is, if we're doing Saturday, I would prefer Saturday, just for the fact that typically Melissa also works Saturdays. She supports our library programs. We have library staff that work Saturday. They don't work Sundays.
Okay.
And so if we needed help, we could lean on the library staff to help us out on that Saturday, looking at it as a program, and get people in there, helping people, set up, checking in and everything. So it's not just on a single person for that day.
Okay. And can we establish a meeting time
For this,
for
yeah,
first meeting?
I am happy if this commission wants to go move forward. I think if you're free next, either the 11th on Monday or the 13th, which is Wednesday.
Mhm.
Monday, I have to take my son to.
September 11th or 13th.
Oh, not
Okay.
for us to meet, just for us to meet before scheduling the
Yeah,
meetings.
I understand. The 11th, there's something going on. Could I let you know in the
Yeah,
next couple of
just-
days?
Yeah, just get back to
I
me.
need to look at my calendar
Yeah.
at home, sorry.
Well, that's fine. But that's where I don't know if the commissioners have other thoughts or comments on just going forward and.
Well, I certainly would be interested in seeing what the universe is as far as what we're picking from, or what you will be picking from. But
But we could probably make that available. If you have the list, we could make it available to all the commissioners to review.
And is a 2 o'clock on a Saturday going to interfere with the public visiting Colton Hall?
Possibly a bit, but it's the same thing where we've done other programs like when we do the Constitution Convention reenactment, and we've done other daytime concerts there. And typically when we have people going through Colton Hall, it's sporadic through the day. Sometimes there's 2, 3, 4, 5, no at one, 0 at 1 hour, 10 at the next hour. So it's hit or miss at Colton Hall. So I would say we would just set it as capacity, or, for that. Once it was full, we would have to have like kind of block the doors, But I don't have an issue with that, because it's the same thing where we do public tours of the library, of Colton Hall for school groups, and often the schools request to do the tours at the same time as public hours. So you might see 40 kids in Colton Hall, and all of a sudden, like 2 tourists walk in there and they're looking at what's going on in there, and then there's 40 kids walking through. So it's just kind of how the building is used currently.
Okay. It was just a question that
Yeah.
flashed through.
Okay. I think we got enough guidance for the moment on the music program.
Cool. So we can work forward.
And this is the first time in a number of years, and
Yeah.
we need to get a baseline. Okay. That brings us to the end of the everything but the informational reports. I see that the staff has been busy, but of course it's been 3 months or so. So, Brian, can you give us a
Yeah.
quick version of?
Perfect. I want to go through line by line, but first off, I want to highlight that our Assistant Library Director, Melissa Mejia, started in May 2025.
Thank
And
you.
then Brianna moved to full-time as of July 1. So I don't know if either of you want to say anything.
Yeah.
Let me get your mic. Push the button up. Yep. Be green. There you go.
All right. Hi, commissioners. Yes, I started in mid-May, and it's been about 2.5 months now, but there's been a lot of learning. A lot of the history side of the job has been by far some of the most invigorating. So that's been exciting. It's been really great working with both sides of Brian's world. So getting and tapping into the museum side, but also learning about the library. And so one of the conversations I had with Brian about the concerts, and I do think it's a good way to kind of bridge those two worlds if we do it on a Saturday. So I do think that would be a great way for us to bring some of our library patrons over to Colton Hall. But yeah, so I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to learn from Brian and from Brianna, and to work with you all. So thank you so much.
And with that, I'll just go through a couple of things in here, and then I'll let my team chime in if you guys have any questions from us. You'll notice new statue inside of the lobby of Monterey Sports Center. There was a private donor, the Daughters of Odessa. And so we worked on creating, same thing as Brianna's talking about. One of my things has been interpretive signage, because I find that oftentimes we haven't always put up signs that show where an item is or what the provenance is on it. So Dennis the Menace, one of the 2 Dennis the Menace statues was moved in there. So we added signage for both the Daughters of Odessa, that one, and the other School of Fish that was in there. A couple things that I've been working on also is that I purchased a new, what they call a Hansen Sea Cow, which is a Johnson Seahorse motor for the Pacific Biological Laboratory's basement, and been updating photos for interpretive photos for the lab, because the lab has been set up kind of like in their current state, but we operate open hours on those Saturday dates. So we do tours, and the docents tend to have to do like a full talk, because nothing is described. Nothing is really explained about where it is. And so because it's a looking at it as a historic building, we want to have things in there like, okay, this is Ed Ricketts, this is John Steinbeck, this is Carol Steinbeck. These are this is why this is important, because otherwise people are walking into the lab. What is this? Like, and some have a huge knowledge and others do not. So it's about adding some of the more descriptions in that space. There's a American Planning Association, Northern California. It's a conference of planners throughout the state. It's going to be here in Monterey, September 28th through October 1st. So we are planning to have a booth at that conference and on 3 days where we will talk about specific topics, and I will have out some of different signage and different interpretive signage from around town. I'll have the tiles that are used at Cannery Row, the walking tiles of the canning labels. I'll have one of the new directional signs that I made around town, some new QR code signs. I'll have Path of History tiles there for people to see the physical signage that we use around town, but then also get photos developed that show different areas of Monterey and how Monterey became Monterey and the different developments. So we'll be focusing on certain things. So there are opportunities for people that may want to volunteer to help us out at that. So I'll be in touch with commissioners if they're interested.
And I have a question.
Yeah,
Do
absolutely.
they have a focus for this meeting, or is it planning in general?
It's for planners, so it's for like planning department.
Oh, okay.
So they asked the state historical, I think it was one of the contacts from State Historical Society contacted us and said, can you put up a display about it? And I saw the display that was done at the last conference last year, and it was a bunch of little photos and small text. And I wanted something that looked about, especially for planners who are looking at how do you do roadways and how do you change, how do you turn the train into a walking path, right? To me, that's more interesting than a biography, like a photo and a little biography. Planners are going to be more interested in how to use interpretive signage. So for that, our booth is just going to be focused. I'm going to try to focus it on that and focus on 4 kind of topics of Monterey history, because Monterey history is so wide that you can cover a lot. So we're going to focus on a couple different topics on there and build out things, and then people can talk specifically on that.
Thank you.
Anything related to the path of history? Because I think that would be something that planners might be interested in.
So that's where, if you look at if you're on the back of the packet where one of the signs is the new Colton Hall sign that I had made, and you'll see it actually on Pacific Street. So I'm going to bring out that sign that's a 24 by 36 inch sign, which has the QR code, the phone number. I added those signs at 3 spots right now, Colton Hall, Cooper Malera, Adobe, and Custom House. But I have the Casa Serrano sign. I haven't put it up yet. So I'm going to bring that one over, but it's going to have the app to take them to the Path of History and show them the tiles. So we'll have the packs of the map for people to hand out, but we will talk about Path of History too. And then we're finalizing the specific dates. We know the week of October 6th, the California State Supreme Court has confirmed that they'll be out at Colton Hall for,
Should be interesting.
yeah. Last time was 1959, I believe. Let's see, there's going to be a proclamation at the August Board of Supervisors meeting for this California 175th. So it's a 175th of statehood, so our admission day. And that's actually one of the days I thought would be great for a concert, is to do it on the admission day, because it'd be the 175th of California. But I'm working with James Perry and Susan Klusmeyer from the Monterey County Historical Society on displays for that. We're going to do a display in the county lobby as well. And exhibit signage, just so if you guys have seen, if you go inside the jail, we updated the exhibit signs all throughout the jail. Last time the text had been updated was 1983. So it's been quite a few years. So we updated all of that, and a new timeline, did a lot of research on that, and it's been really helpful, I think, for that. And yeah, Colton Hall. And then just on the packet in the back, you'll see the picture of the timeline on the back. But this is the statistics on the back, has a list of total people that we have from January through July of this year. So that's the So 4,225 people were counted at Colton Hall in that period. Presidio Monterey Museum, as a reminder, that's only open Saturdays and Sundays. That's 2,033. And Pacific Biological Laboratories, 7 public days, but 19 private tours. So that's 997 people.
Huh.
And as a reminder, we are charging for private tours for our sites now. So it's not a huge amount, but it is cost recovery for that. And the audio tours, the story, that's the public art, that's the path of history. We had 2,458 people use those right there. So as of total, we had 9,713 people in this period interact with something on there. With that, just there are some images on the back. You'll see the displays. You know, I have had 2 mannequins placed in the jail now, put in new signs throughout. And the 24 by 36 signs, I did those, I designed those and had those done by Fossil Graphics. And I think they're good, but happy to answer any questions. There's more in there, but is there any questions for me and the team?
Brain freeze. Dennis the Menace.
Yes.
Is there still a Dennis the Menace in the park? And then there's another one in the sports center? Is that, or did the one in the park get moved to the sports center, or has it disappeared permanently?
So the one that was there was one that was in front of the Vasquez Adobe. The one that was in the Vasquez Adobe went to Monterey Sports Center. So that was the one that came from Florida. That was the one that was found over there. It was actually not the one that was stolen. It was the one that a hospital was getting rid of. And they thought it was the one that was stolen years back, but we actually got that one. That's the one from the Monterey Sports Center. From that original cast that was done by the Carmel artist. The one that was from the Dennis the Menace Park that was damaged and repaired is moved into the youth center building indoors. So it's moved inside the lobby. So if you go inside the youth center there at Dennis the Menace Park,
It's right next door to Dennis.
it's right next to, yeah.
The park doesn't actually have a Dennis the Menace anymore.
What they did is they made a new custom Dennis statue made out of a material that is, the material is not worth a lot. You know, something I had communicated this with Parks and Rec team, which is that if you're going to build something like that, build it out of a material where the material isn't going to be worth
You don't
melting
wanna-
down.
Yeah, it doesn't want to be bronze.
So it's a gold color, but it's made out of like a plastic thing. So it's next to the train. If you go inside the park and the train, the Dennis the Menace is there. So I've been in contact with them. We met with them because I said, you know, we should have same thing about interpretation. We should put something in there that says material, plastic or resin, you know, so people don't think it's solid gold. And then you say, built at this date and why Dennis the Menace is important, because most kids today don't recognize Hank Ketchum. They don't recognize Dennis the Menace. And so if they come to this park, getting some new signs that say why this is important and who donated. Bing Crosby, I think most people don't recognize Bing Crosby built the center, right? So it's like those kind of things are getting lost to history. So we should have more interpretation that says this is why they did that.
Yeah, but that's for the parents. The kids are there to play.
The parents, exactly. But the parents are sitting there bored out of their minds sometimes.
The jail sign is terrific. Especially the sign in or the log. I thought that was really kind of neat.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we went through a lot of, we had a staff member I hired for a bit and I had him help me do some research. And we went through a lot of, kind of did a drawing of what we wanted to do and in there and looking through the California History Room and finding the jail logs and I took some scans from the state archives of the original rules for prisons and everything. So using that as kind of like just getting a lot of different topics and I read a lot of newspapers for a lot of the additional dates and things.
It's great.
Notice that there's one Constitution reenactment this year,
Mhm.
or not two.
Possibly 2. We're not sure. we're gonna have to talk with the performers. I will say last year, I think we paid for both and it was a large cost. And because of the decreases in our budget for this
Yeah.
fiscal year and certain things, I couldn't approve both. But they were looking at getting from last time they talked with staff, they were looking at getting a sponsor or doing another one. But we just booked the one time, but they were talking about also for them doing two on the same day. So
Yes. Thank you.
Could you,
Would it be possible with the visiting court might be interested in seeing one and maybe they would provide some funding?
hey, if
worth a try?
yeah, well, we always talk to them about the different programs and where they're coming from, because I think a lot of the state Supreme Court members are coming from San Francisco, typically from out there, but yeah, we'll see what's there. I mean, I will say the Constitution Convention, it is a large cost for us to do that program for one day. We will not get our money back from donations from people on there. So it's because they spend the time practicing all the different things, and it's not like most theater shows, where you do it and you recoup your costs because you're doing 20 shows or something like that. You're doing multiple shows, but we just do one show. So we're spending all that money and paying it. So it's
It might be a time to try out the existing recording of. We won't talk about that.
yeah.
So, Brian, could you, tell me, you said you're working on the contract for the tile art map. Is that actually in place or it's still in process?
So it's still in process because I noticed an error was made in our the budget that I submitted for the city. So I'm gonna have to ask for amendment and see if I might have to go back to council to put money. Basically, there was carryover funds from the trust, which I need to use to spend the money, and the commission had appropriated the funding, and I'd asked for it in this budget, but it didn't get added into the trust budget. So I need to go back to add that money into there before we go forward to ask for it. But I've identified an artist that does tile art that could make a custom size over there for that De Anza map. So I've already identified, I've contacted different artists and found an artist that would be willing to do it.
So you think it is still possible by the 250th anniversary?
Yes. Yeah, 'cause that'll be next year. And
Yeah.
I talked with them and they said they would be able to do it by March.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Are there other activities with regard to the De Anza anniversary that we know of? Like, is the state doing anything, or is the city, other parts of the city doing anything?
Yeah, so let's see, I'd probably look at my email because I actually I got in contact with, there's a nonprofit, right? There's a nonprofit that's tied to the De Anza group. And I've reached out to them and I said, do you know of anything going on, or is there anything out there? And they didn't have anything in this region of going on there in the map because, so I initially reached out to a couple different groups and talked with Monterey History and Art Association and state parks and just said, because we get our heads together at some point to think about what's going to be there's also next year is the, United States 250, right? And so you've got the De Anza, you've got the United States, like we should get together and do that. So I think that might be good to do. And I think there is a group of what's called the Californianos, which is a group of people that are descendants from that original like De Anza expedition and things. And so I'll need to reach out to them because contacts that I've made so far, I haven't seen any plans for any reenactment. I haven't seen any plans for anything. So I'd be open to ideas on what else we would be able to do. The one thought that I had with my team was that because we have our new art display panels in Colton Hall, can we do even just like a Dianza display inside of Colton Hall? Because I saw another museum that was rotating Dianza exhibits and like with information panels. So if we could do something there, and I know we have some paintings that reflect Dianza. I was at MHAA. I was over at the Dowd House earlier, like last week, and they have some documents from 1976 that were related, to the 200-year celebration. So if there was even just a celebration at Colton Hall, could be a possibility for us.
The Dianza expedition really made Monterey a permanent location, a real city that could sustain itself. Before that, would have died when the Spanish king stopped supporting it.
Yeah, so we'll have to see where else is going in the different historical groups. Like if there are other historical groups that are doing enactments either in San Francisco or other areas out there too.
There are families in Monterey who
Oh yeah,
can't with Dianza. I guess we're ready for commissioner comments.
I have no comments today.
Robert?
I hope we have applicants and we can fill out the commission.
me too.
And do we need to urge the mayor and vice mayor to get with the program so that we get people appointed? And that we can have another commission meeting in September or October or sooner. Because we certainly want to see the music program moving on.
Absolutely. And we want to see that the commission continues.
Oh, absolutely.
And in my experience, it's not easy to find members of the commission. All right, that's my only comment. Did you have a comment?
And I would just like to say I'm delighted that we are moving forward with the music program. For a long time, I've been talking about that. I think it's just a wonderful program. We have a beautiful setting for it too, so. Yay.
Any members? We don't have a public here, but I don't know, anybody online waiting to say anything?
There are no hands raised online or in the chamber.
Well, adjourn.
All right.
Thank you.